You all look amazing. Oof.
You look nice. Everyone, you all look gorgeous.
Right.
These sisters are hot. All right, good morning, everyone. This is Mother Drum Healing Arts Foundation's February edition of Break the Silence, Break the Stigma Roundtable Discussion. Mother Drum Healing Arts Foundation is a nonprofit organization that utilizes the arts to raise awareness about addiction and mental health challenges. And this February edition is actually dedicated to Black History Month. Today, joining me on the program, I have beautiful women of color, beautiful sisters. I'm going to start introducing. I'm just going to tell you their names and they're going to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Dr. Chanel. Dr. Chanel, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Hi, Dr. Chanel.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for including me. I think it's so important that we have these type of online communities where we talk about the important issues in our community. I think that, mental health access is very hard for people because of the geographical location. It's hard to find culturally competent providers that you feel confident in speaking with. And also it's very difficult to find the right treatment because a lot of people in our community are uninsured. And that's why I just think that what you're doing today is so important. And thank you so much for including me.
It's a pleasure to have you. And Dr. Chanel is actually a psychiatrist. She deals with children and adults. All right, so you want to tell us?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, my name is Dr. Chanel Ramsubik, and I'm actually a child and adolescent psychiatrist at Mount Sinai Hospital in Manhattan, New York. I'm a second generation Trinidadian Canadian living in New York for the last 5 years. And I've had the opportunity to live and work in many different communities and work with many different people of all genders and ethnicities and races and socioeconomic classes. But a lot of my career focus right now is actually working in the BIPOC community and addressing health inequities. And I hope that I can work with young women and young Black men to really address their mental health issues for the rest of my career.
All right, it's a pleasure to have you on this roundtable discussion. Can you please mute your phones? Thank you so much. Okay, also joining us on the program today is my beautiful sister. I call her Sister Shem. I'm going to let her introduce herself because she has so many accolades. Hello, Shem.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much for having me, Mother Drum. And it's so great to be on a panel with amazing ladies who are passionate about such a topic that, the stigma that surrounds it, it's so huge and people really don't want to talk about it. So it was an honor to be invited to speak. My name is Shema Bajali. I am a mental health advocate. I am very passionate about mental health awareness, creating awareness, especially with our community and with people of color. I am a doctoral student, currently trying to get my doctorate degree in mental health nursing. So at university right now, I'm a registered nurse, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and I have been privileged to work with patients in different also ethnicities and class. But basically, I'm very passionate about mental health awareness, especially with our community. People don't talk about it. And this is why it's really exciting to be here. And I hope, I look forward to what I'm going to hear today, because I'm also here to learn. So Dr. Chanel, I hope you're your A game on, right?
We are all ready to learn today. It's a pleasure to have you here, Shema Bajalu. Also joining us on the roundtable discussion this month is Tosinga. Tosinga is a songwriter, singer, and a poet. I'm going to let Tosinga tell us about herself. Hi, Tosinga. Please unmute yourself.
Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm privileged and honored and blessed. My name is Tosinga. I'm a singer-songwriter based in Atlanta, Georgia, from Nigeria. I do healing and inspirational music. I'm glad to be here because I'm passionate about anything that has to do with my sisters and mental health. I'm glad to share this afternoon, and thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here today. I like that smile. That just makes my day. Okay, it's going to be a wonderful moment. I have beautiful sisters on the program this month. All right, I have on the program this month is Kamaria. I call her Queen Kamaria. Hi, Kamaria. Tell us about yourself. Yes, you can unmute yourself.
Good morning, good afternoon to everyone listening. I am Kamaria Delaney, also known as Kama the Poet or Queen Kamaria. As she just stated, it's a pleasure to be on this panel with all of these amazing Black women and women of color discussing, mental health and how it impacts our community. I am a poet, writer, author, but I do also believe that, it's important for us to advocate for mental health challenges that we do face as Black women because, there is still a stigma attached to it. So I'm really honored to be a part of this panel discussion today.
Amazing. It's a pleasure to have you all on this panel. It's going to be a wonderful time. And this month, we will be addressing depression and women of color. And starting the program with us is Tosinga. Tosinga is going to start in with the music. Are you ready for us to sing it? Let's go. Yes, you can unmute yourself to sing it.
Yes. Hi again. Such a privilege, such a privilege. I just want to talk a little bit before I sing, if that's okay.
Sure.
It's not disputable about the role of music in mental health, okay? Music is spiritual in itself. So I'm sure in the course of this discussion, it's going to come up some way. And music is also connected to dance. And physical exercise is also connected to mental health. So everything is interconnected. And being an African too, in the olden days, we have song circles, we have town square meetings where festivals, we just dance and we just sing. So that's our own way. I know in the Western side it's more structured and you have therapy, but organically, that's our therapy. And depression is seen as a dark place. And musicians are actually light workers. We shine the light with music. There's all science experiments that prove that music is connected to brain waves. And we have different frequencies of music that affects the mind on a deeper level. We have the 432 hertz music. Like if you just YouTube healing music, you see what comes up. You see like 432, 528. Those are just frequencies that has been proven that it can change the way the waves of the brain go. So we're gonna start off. In case we're not aware, this is called a sound bowl. It's from Tibet. We have, as Africans, we have our own too, but I like this. And it also gives off almost the 432 hertz frequency. So before I go into the song, I'm just it's calming. It's supposed to be calming. So I'll just play around with it for a bit before I sing. If that's okay. Yeah. On a good day for a troubled mind, just like in the Bible days when Saul was distressed and they had to call David to play the harp. For a troubled mind, when that is played, it calms them. Okay, now I'm gonna sing. Okay, so the song I'm singing is a very well-known song by Coldplay called Fix You. I'm gonna put my twist to it. It talks about lights guiding you away. So I love the message of the song, and a lot of people have considered this song a healing song. I'm also going to do a song of mine, but I'm going to start off with this. Okay. Get my track. Just a minute. When you try your best but you don't succeed, when you get what you want but not what you need, when you feel so tired but you can sleep, stuck in reverse, and the tears coming streaming down your face, healing music flows and wash your tears away. Healing music flows, yeah, and light will guide you home and ignite your bones. And I will try to fix you. And high above or down below, when you're too in love to let it go. But if you never try, you'll never know just what you are. Yeah. Healing music flow and wash your fears away. Healing music flow and wash your tears. Light will guide you home and ignite your bones. And I will try to fix you. Light will guide you home and ignite your bones. And I will try to fix you. And I will try to fix you. Healing music flow and wash your fears away. Healing music flow and wash your tears. Oh, light will guide you home and ignite your bones. And I will try to fix you. And I will try to fix you. And I will try to fix you. And I will try to fix you.
Thank you so much to sing.
Thank you.
And we would have you to sing at the end of the program also. This is a beautiful one. Thank you so much for warming us up with that beautiful song there. All right, let's get started. I'm going to start with Dr. Chanel because we want her to give us a foundation about what depression is and what are the most common female-specific mood disorders.
Yeah, so this is a great question because, you know, working with my female patients, I've realized that I really need to be specific when I'm, you know, assessing them and treating them, because women have, you know, differences to men in terms of their hormones and different environmental pressures on females. So starting off with depression. So depression is actually twice as prevalent in young women than it is in men 14 to 25 years old. And it's about, and you'll find it affects about 20 to 23% of adult women. So it's actually one of the most common mood disorders in the female population. And the higher prevalence in women is probably due to a combination of different things. So if we were to start with depression in adolescent women, sometimes depression in adolescent women can actually go undiagnosed and untreated because people misinterpret it as moodiness or some sort of teen angst. However, it's only because depression is going to look differently in adolescent women than it does in adult women. So in adolescent women, you're actually going to see more irritability and more anger than you're going to see low mood, which is what you're going to see in adults with depression. And when I think about depression, it's a combination of genetic predisposition as well as environmental factors working together to create the disease. So for some, a genetic vulnerability to getting depression, about 40% of people who have depression will have some sort of genetic link, which means that they're going to have a family member, a parent, or a sibling that has it, and they're actually 3 times as likely to develop the condition. So along with the genetic predisposition, there's also environmental factors that can be a burden to some young women, which increases their chances of getting a depressive episode. So for young Black women, they have these intersecting identities of being a woman and having sexism affect them, of being Black and having racism affect them because we live in a racialized society, but then also being young. And young people don't have that much agency or control over their lives, which can make them feel like they're out of control. So if we think of a young Black girl and the environmental stressors that are affecting them, you can think of, living up to unrealistic Eurocentric beauty standards. You can think of the pressure of colorism, of featureism, or texturism every time that they look in the mirror. There's also the fact that most young Black people are also living in poverty. About 45.8% of young Black children under the age of 6 are living in poverty, which makes economic hardship one of the most common adverse childhood experiences. There's also the adultification of young Black women, and which causes them to usually get harder punishments when they're in school because they don't get that leniency or they don't get that ability to be kids anymore. And the adultification of young Black females also puts them at risk to sexual predators and also sexual exploitation. So these are just a few of the different environmental stresses that are affecting young Black women, which can be an environmental factor leading to depression. So along with depression, there's also other mood disorders. Why do you guys think depression starts at the age of 12 in most adolescents?
Wow.
Why do you think so?
Probably puberty, something to do with puberty.
Exactly, puberty.
Yeah.
Puberty, menstruation. So we know that with the change in your menstrual cycle, or the beginning of your menstrual cycle, you have sex hormones that are changing, right? You have estrogen, you have progesterone, you have FSH and LH. So we found that actually changes in your hormones can also affect your ability to get depression. So a mood disorder that's very related to your menstrual cycle is actually called premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And that's actually different than PMS. I think you guys probably know what PMS is, right? When you're feeling really bloated before your period. Right? You're feeling bloated, you're maybe moody, you're kind of tired, having difficulty concentrating. So premenstrual dysphoric disorder is PMS, but like to the extreme, right? So with PMS, you're gonna have it usually the week before, and it really varies for some women. Like for me, I have it maybe like 4 to 5 days before, right? But PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, that happens at least 1 week before, but it can actually happen for 3 weeks before. One important thing that I forgot to mention is that PMS and PMDD all stop as soon as your period hits. Okay, so with PMDD, the things that you want to look out for is, as I said, it's going to be at least a week or 3 weeks before your period. And you're going to have changes in your ability to really function, changes in your ability to go to school, to go to work, interact with your partner, interact with your family. People are really going to notice, you know, and they're going to be like, something's wrong. So obviously there's going to be changes in your mood. People actually say that there's a mood lability, like mood swings. Maybe you'll be angry one moment and tearful the next. And so you'll be like going through mood swings in a day. You might also feel anxious and tearful. You're going to have difficulty concentrating. People have changes in their appetite. Some people eat a lot more. I don't know if for you guys, but people with PMDD usually have cravings for something salty or something sweet, and they'll overeat and they'll kind of binge, right? They also might have changes in their sleep. Most people with PMD might oversleep and have difficulty, like, you know, getting up and starting the day. Also, there's this feeling of feeling overwhelmed with PMDD. So if you know anybody who's experiencing PMDD, it's different than PMS, and PMDD is actually a medical diagnosis that can be treated. So you can tell your OB-GYN, your primary care physician, about your symptoms, and then they can assess you. And then you can actually get then you can actually be referred to a psychiatrist if you want further treatment for that.
Thank you so much, doctor. Thank you so much. That's a wonderful foundation, and that actually opened my eyes to a lot of things. And you keep mentioning some environmental factors that could be a cause of this depression in women. Now I'm coming to you, Shenwa Bajolu. What are the environmental factors that actually lead to depression or all these mood disorders in women?
Okay, so I'm going to start with the fact that for several decades, right, research, let me start with this research real quickly, that Black women have higher rates of psychological distress than Caucasians, right? And one thing that keeps many Black, it starts from the fact that many Black women, we were raised to be heroines, like we can fix everything. We are strong and we're not supposed to complain. We take care of everybody, and which is evident with our daily lives. We want to make sure everybody else is okay, and we most times forget ourselves. So I think this starts mostly from that, and then it becomes overwhelming, and we do not reach out for help because we still have that big S on our chest, trying to be a superhero while we are drowning. And yes, so that's that's the biggest factor that kind of promotes that disorder in women and makes it even harder to ask for help or seek for help.
Wow, that is really huge.
Yes.
That's really huge. Now, so which means we have several disorders. We have so many things that are associated with women because they assume that we are stronger, we can hold everything together. Now, you mentioned something very sensitive, taking care of others without paying attention to ourselves. How is that possible, Shenwa Bajodo?
Women, we're natural nurturers. We are nurturers by birth. You know, we're wired to want to make sure and look out for everybody, correct? So it's just like we're mothers, our husbands becomes our kids. We're just wired naturally to want to look out for everybody. And this is where I have to remind women, stop. And why I am a big advocate on self-care and self-love, because in the midst of loving everyone else, you totally forget about yourself. If I ask a lot of women on here, I'm sure a lot of us, maybe Dr. Chanel, not you, a lot of us have not had a healthcare physical in a long time, but you're taking everybody else to the doctor. You're taking the kids to the doctor. I'm equally guilty of this. So it's just because we're naturally wired to be that way. So that's why. And we just have to remind ourselves to stop.
Stop. That is a huge one. So women, take a pause and let's give a second thought about ourselves. All right, now, so is there a difference between mood disorders, or let me say bipolar disorder? Because a lot of people confuse being moody, bipolar disorder with depression. Dr. Chanel, is there actually a difference between bipolar disorders, mood disorder, all these mood swings, being just like moody? Is there a difference between being moody and depression?
So yes, definitely. There's a difference between. So for some people, they're just going to experience a sad mood. So you'll see that they're very tearful, but the rest of their life seems like it's going well. They're eating okay, they're sleeping okay. So that's just a mood. Depressive disorder or major depressive disorder is a persistence to that mood. And that's why when you look at the DSM-5, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, any mood disorder always has a specific time frame. So let's go into bipolar disorder and depression because there are some similarities, but there are also some key differences. So when you're looking at depression, it's more than just a feeling of sad, right? People who are depressed have a low mood almost all day for at least 2 weeks. So you can imagine that's more than just feeling sad, right? So if you're having a very low, sad mood for at least 2 weeks, your thoughts are also going to reflect that and they're going to be quite negative. So when I'm speaking and assessing people with depression, I always ask, are you feeling like you have low self-esteem? Do you feel like you're always thinking about things from the past, maybe rerunning guilty periods from the past or guilty thoughts from the past? People might feel very hopeless or helpless, that things might not get better. So they have these overwhelming negative thoughts, and they're also going to feel it biologically in their body. And that some people have changes to their appetite. They have changes to their sleep. They have changes to their ability to concentrate. Some people might overeat or might undereat. Some people might oversleep or undersleep. And of course, the concentration is going to be very difficult because your mood is sad and you're also having all these negative thoughts. And if you're feeling that for 2 weeks, you're also going to have a change in your functioning. So people with depression have a marked change in their ability to go to work, interact with their social supports, maybe go to school. So that's why it should be treated as soon as possible because, if it goes on for too long, you could have some major changes in your life. And another important thing about depression is that it's a chronic illness. So if you have had one episode, there's a 60% chance that somewhere later down the line in your life, you'll have another episode. So it's great if you get the treatment and you're no longer having symptoms and you're feeling good. But I say that you need to remain in treatment for the rest of your life to prevent another episode.
That's scary, Dr. Chanel. So
Well,
that is one. I know that
that's
is
very
one thing
true.
a lot of people are afraid of, being in treatment for the rest of their lives, especially Black women.
Yeah.
Especially with the stigma that is associated with this. People don't want to be seen because once you say you are depressed, they feel you're crazy. That's the word we use. Where you are crazy. Now you said that people have to be in treatment for the rest of their life. That's really scary. Shema Bajolu, please, you need to answer me.
One second. The thing about treatment is that treatment might look differently for different people.
Okay.
The way I approach treatment is that I like formal therapy, but then I also have a lot of spiritual practices that also complement my, Western medical forms of treatment. I know that as a Black woman, my ancestors didn't go to therapy and they didn't take medications, but they were still able to take care of themselves, take care of their minds, and take care of their bodies. And that's why where I found in psychiatric care does a very bad job of addressing those ancestral and more holistic forms of treatment. So yes, if you have depression, you should be in treatment for the rest of your life, but it doesn't need to look like the formal Western forms of taking an antidepressant, going to see a psychiatrist, going into therapy. It might be mindfulness practices. It might be meditation. It might be song and dance. It might be going to church and praising the Lord. And so there's all these different types of treatment. And I don't think that people should be afraid of that because you're taking care of yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Chanel, for breaking that down even more, because that was what I was going to talk about, alternative therapies.
Very important.
When we hear treatment, we're assuming, or it's going to be medications, seeing a psychiatrist. The idea that we have ingrained in our minds, especially as Black people, is when we think of mental health issues, you're thinking of somebody locked up with clothes on and you can't see anybody else. No, it has evolved. It has changed. There are alternative therapies. Yes, you might be Your spectrum might have to be dependent on medications, but just look at it like any other chronic illnesses. High blood pressure sometimes could even be more deadly, and it depends on you taking your medications every day to maintain your blood pressure. So just look at it that way and keep it up. And talking about alternative therapies, it's just counseling, talking to somebody, mindfulness practice, singing, finding something that you enjoy doing. Again, it comes down to us being superwomen, superpowers. You know, we just keep going and going and going and don't take time to stop. That's one of the biggest issues that I do see. We are taking care of everyone else but ourselves. Incorporate certain things that you love to do that will help you relax and dissociate yourself from the stress of the week, right? Into your regular schedule. And you'll be surprised how much that can help you.
Thank you so much, ladies. That is really, really informative. Now we're talking about alternative to medications. We're talking about art. That's why I see a lot of art integrated therapy now. A lot of people, you don't have to go to the doctor if that is not necessary for you. You know, the fear of people going to the hospital taking pills is making a lot of people to shy away from treatment. And it's about time we start telling women that you don't have to be ashamed of this. Everybody once in a while go through one thing or the other in life. You just have to share it with somebody. Share it with somebody who can help you. You know, a lot of people, you want to share it with people, but you just want to hold back because you don't know how people are going to feel about it. Please, 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 if there are people out there that really need help, if you've been down, you have been sad for about 2 weeks, like Dr. Chanel said, please speak with somebody about it. You can use therapy, you can use medication, you can use art, you can use music, you can even involve in anything that you like to do. Put all these things into practice. And I'm coming to Kamaria. How can poetry help women with depression, Kamaria?
That's a great question. I personally use writing as a coping skill all the time, probably for years. Like that's how I cope with depression, anxiety, what have you. Poetry can be an excellent tool for anyone who is listening, even if you don't consider yourself a poet. Just getting your thoughts down, on paper, journaling. If you choose to write it into a poem, all of that is a form of release. That's how I see it. When I put things down on paper that, I'm feeling or stressing about, that's my release. So once it's down on paper, that's my way of letting it go and getting it out. And then, to further go and kind of speak what I was releasing, that's an even more of a release for me when I do perform, my poetry. It's like, I'm speaking something that's very personal, but I know that release could touch someone else. So, I definitely encourage anyone who, like Dr. Chanel said, like if you've been just feeling down or, it's a new year, you've got stress of, everything that's gone on in the past year, now is a great time to really take advantage of, utilizing those coping skills, like the ones that have been mentioned. But yeah, just to kind of tie it all into, the way that writing can be, just as helpful as, the therapy that has been mentioned, or, in addition to, sometimes, as you are seeking therapy, you have those sessions with your therapist, but after that session ends, it's kind of up to you to take what you got from that session and kind of put it down and reflect on your own time on paper. So that could look like a journal entry or like, just a written reflection of what you talked about in therapy or kind of what you were thinking, as you were processing those things, as you, talk to someone. So I would say like healing is not linear, it's going to be like ups and downs. Like sometimes it's going to seem like everything is going great. Like I'm, feeling positive, but then it's like, there's that moment where like, you may come down and, you have to kind of, like they said, it's a constant thing. It's not like a linear process. It's not just like, oh, overnight I'm good. Like it's definitely a process and it looks different for everyone.
You have something you want to share with us, Kamaria?
I do. So I wrote a poem called Free Your Mind, and it is highlighting my own personal journey with mental health, anxiety and depression. I published a book. I'll just like plug it real quick. I published a book called Soul Power in 2019. And this was my release. So this was my release therapy. It's just basically a collection of poems that, I have been working on for quite some time, but ultimately compile them as my release to kind of just let go of everything I was going through in that season. And, this is one of the poems. It's called Free Your Mind. I was adamant about sorting it all out, Not to chase clout, but to ease my doubts, I had to seek therapy to find clarity. Now I'm at peace so I can release everything to the wind. I remember when I couldn't see the end, always stressing, always second guessing. I lost sight of my blessings, forever dressing my depression in disguise, covering my anxiety in plain sight, dimming my lights, keeping it all bottled in tight. How do we manage to scream so loud for help and no one can hear us? Silent cries, telling lies, we convince our family that we're okay. We tell ourselves, I'll get better one day until reality sets in. The mind works overtime when things are unsettled, like a tea kettle whistling on the stove about to spill over any minute once it reaches boiling points. I had reached my breaking points, caught up in my misery, praying to God that one day he'd hear me, and he did. He showed up and showed out when I least expected it. I was in a dark place, refusing to show my face to the world some days, but then one day things started to shift. I woke up and realized that a new chance at life is a gift that I couldn't take for granted, so I planted a seed to manifest my dreams, to show a better reality without the drama, stress, and pain. Who do we blame when the mental needs fixing? Don't go mixing substances for a quick fix. Don't go pouring up for an every night sip. Don't go confusing lust for love, because that was me before. But I'm here today, not by luck, but by grace and faith. And I pray that if you need a helping hand to bring you out of the darkness, you'll be open enough to receive and believe that change will come. You've already won the battle. You're stronger than you know. One day you'll look back thankful for the growth and the glow.
Oh my God. Thank you, Kamaria. Don't make me cry now.
Thank you, Ashe.
Thank you so much. It takes a lot of strength to, share when you're in this space. It takes a lot of strength, especially for women, to share what we go through. Like Shion said, we are considered to be a strong, powerful person. We are strong for our children. We are strong for the community. And it is very, very hard for us to open up about what we go through. And I thank you so much, Tamara, because this is very deep and it touched me. And if there is anybody out there that you're going through it and you think you're alone, you are not alone. Everybody go through something. Please seek help, because there's help out there. Healing is dynamic, recovery is possible, and you can get help. Shewabadulu, over to you. You have something you want to share with us?
All right, so I would just like to mention that when we talk about depression, it's not specific to anybody. Anybody can experience it. Anybody can be going through depression. It could be someone you think, oh, this person is strong. They always have a strong outlook. They got it. Because what I've seen and what has caused people sometimes to drown and probably lose control of themselves and commit suicide is everybody else does not notice, because we're just assuming that they're okay. So I did have my experience with depression. And this is another one that affects women. This is postpartum depression. About 10% of women will experience postpartum depression. And it also has different risk factors, financial difficulties, troubled relationship with your partner. All of those things can cause that also. For me, I already had a mother to 3 girls. And of course, coming from the African culture where you're expected to have a son. And of course, it was obvious we're trying for that boy. And my 4th pregnancy came, which I was not looking forward to. So I decided not to check. I was not going to check the sex of the baby, because I was just expecting that. This was my answered prayer. God got me, all of that. And then on the table, they brought out the baby, and it was another girl. I was not excited at all. Like, because you're supposed to have this excitement with having a new baby, but in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, it's another girl. What do I do with the girl? But from that moment on, I sunk deeper. Thankfully, my mom was here who, as soon as I had the baby, I practically had the baby for her. And I was not holding her. I was not connecting with her. I wasn't bonding with her, because I was thinking, I was blaming myself. I was blaming God. And it took me a while. I started to see that I kind of had more peace when I was in darkness, when I was not around people. And I think it was my background as a nurse that helped me catch myself that, Cheryl, you are depressed. And that's when I started to seek alternative therapies to help me get out of it. Okay. This went on for about 6 months. Okay. So I just shared that personal experience to let you know you might actually be going through it, and it's okay to admit it to yourself, and it's okay to seek help. So if you are listening, yes, that strong sister Sharon that every woman looks up to has had her share of depression, and I got help, and that's why I'm here today.
Thank you so much, Shimobajulu. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your strength, and I appreciate the fact that you're sharing with this, because a lot of people think that they are the only one that are going through this. So Singa, you have something to share with us today?
Yes, so expectedly, I'm very much, I believe in a holistic approach, to things. Apart from music and art, I also believe in the power of herbs. I believe God created nature for a reason, and there's healing in nature. So I believe in the power of nature to help mental health. Sometimes I do make some posts and say, okay, if you're feeling low, these are the things you need to do. Take a walk, go to a trail, um, look at trees. It may sound weird and crazy. They always think, people who do that are like woo-woo, but it has its place. And also, I believe in the power of essential oils. I believe in the power of lavender. Lavender is very calming for the mind. There's so many essential herbs. I actually make some myself, holistic spirits. So spray it, it calms your aura, it helps. I believe in the power of aromatherapy. I believe in the power of sound therapy. Sound healing is actually an ancient tradition, an ancient culture. Just like that singing bowl I was using, though that's Asian, it's been proven to relieve pain. It's been proven to relieve stress. I believe in the power of music, depending on the tempo, the rhythm. It could be upbeat to dance. It could be on a lower rhythm to calm, depending on the mood. So that's why I believe we as musicians and artists are actually healers in our own special way. And yeah, so that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you so
Don't
much for
underestimate the power of sound therapy, aromatherapy, and holistic herbal therapy.
Thank you
Thank
so much. Thank you so much. That is to say, aside from medication, if you don't want to use pills, please try other ways that you can get help from. Because it's Black History Month, we're definitely going to touch the racial impact of mental health disorders. I'm going to start with Dr. Chanel.
Yeah. So we want to talk about the racial impact on mental
Yes.
health disorders, which is a very important topic because we know that racial stress is very common in a racialized society where their race gives you advantages or disadvantages. And so, as I said, where mental illness is a form of genetic predisposition and environmental factors, racism has a huge impact on people's psyche and their ability to really express themselves fully and present themselves as their authentic self in certain spaces, and their ability to really have a sense of self-worth. Sorry, my pager, I'm on call. And also their ability to have a sense of self-worth. While I check my pager, could somebody else continue?
So, Shimobajolu, please take it from there. Thank you so much.
Right. So just like Dr. Chanel was saying, we have the pressure and the stressors that involves with, well, being in an institution where there's institution where we're being discriminated against because of our color, and that adds extra stress to us, right? So we're actually dealing with that, and that can also, because I also looked something up and it caused me to think also when it comes to the treatments that we get as African Americans, because there's not a lot of research that's tailored towards African American people and mental health, we're also not getting the right treatment we should be getting. It also extends to healthcare. So as women of color, we're dealing with all of that. We're dealing with our outlook, with imaging how we're expected to look, and that adds a lot of anxiety, that adds a lot of stress, and then you are not also able to share. I read a story while also looking this up. There was a young lady who mentioned that she found a package in front of her home, right? It was empty. It had nothing in there, which signaled that it belonged to somebody else, and what was in there was no longer in it. It was, I think it belonged to a neighbor down the street. She was anxious. She was already dealing with anxiety, and she got very anxious because she started thinking, well, what would they think if I took this package? Will they think I took whatever was in there out of it? Because automatically, because I'm a woman of color, they might think, well, I'm the one who took whatever package. And she debated this for a long time. She thought about, oh, what about the young woman who had a car issue and stopped in front of somebody, a white man's house, and she got shot because they automatically thought, okay, this Black person probably came to rob me, and she was out there looking for help. But she did take the package down. This just helped me see better that we're already dealing with a lot of stress from external stressors based on our color. And that adds extra stress to us as Black people. So we need to be conscious of that.
Right. Does anybody want to say something about that's the racial impact of mental health, especially on about women?
I think Dr. Chanel was still speaking. Is she back now?
Yeah, Dr. Chanel, you want to finish what you started?
Yeah, sorry, thank you for that. I mean, you said it very beautifully. The way that I also look at stress is that people have a specific finite ability to cope, whether it's because of their own genetics or because of the environment. They were able to find, you know, a toolkit of coping mechanisms. So racism, microaggressions doesn't necessarily mean that it will amount to mental illness. If you kind of look at it like a chart, it's kind of like when somebody's stress level overwhelms their ability to cope, then they're going to probably lead to some form of mental illness. And if you're a part of many identities that have, if you're a part of many identities that are part of oppressed groups, like being of low socioeconomic status, being a female, being a part of the LGBTQ community, being a visible minority. So those are many oppressed identities. And at some point, their stress may overwhelm their ability to cope.
Okay. Thank you so much. That is really, really, really nice. Kamara, you want to drop something on racial impact or mental health?
I think both Dr. Chanel and I'm probably going to mispronounce you all summed it up very beautifully. Just talking about like the extra stress, if you will, that women of color have added on, that are just kind of already like in us, just, you know, by way of genetics or environment. I just think like we have to recognize that the whole concept of us feeling like we are super women, or like we do have to kind of take on everyone else's stuff, it can really be overwhelming. I don't know about all of you, but I carry like a lot of my stress in my neck. So like literally like I, you know, when I'm really like going through it or I'm stressed, like my neck is just like so tight, so tense, like, you know, so it's like we have to even like body scan, you know, that's something I learned to do, is just really do a complete body scan like all the time, just like, you know, notice what you're feeling like from the, you know, from the head to the feet, like, you know, how are you feeling? Because there's likely some stress connected to that, you know, like even with Tosinga talking about the aromatherapy and the essential oils, like, you know, it all kind of comes to play. I think like it's just like a thing in our culture as far as the church, you know, we've kind of just been always kind of taught to like, you know, pray about it and that's kind of it. But obviously, like, you know, as a believer, as a spiritual person, like I do believe that yes, you know, pray about it and you know, keep the faith, but you have to actively like, you know, work too, you know, faith without works is dead. So you do have to kind of, you know, do the work that it takes for yourself. Like I said, it will look different for everyone else, but you know, for me, it's really like doing that body scan. Like when I'm feeling like, you know, there's a lot going on in my neck, you know, my back, like I'm physically hurting, like there's probably some stress connected to my mental. So, you know, in order for me to feel better, I have to process the stress. And as a Black woman, you know, we do have to acknowledge like when we're feeling those things, because sometimes other people just can't realize what's going on with us.
Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, before we round up the program today, I'm going to ask this question. Do children go through depression? Anybody can. Children actually get depressed? Please mute your phones, please. Mute. Okay. Do children actually go through depression?
I mean, I would love to say, but I really would like, because Dr. Chanel is a pediatric and adolescent psychiatrist, so I think she should start on that. I'm sorry for calling you out, Dr. Chanel.
No problem. Yeah. So it's a great question, and it's an important one too, because depression looks differently in children than it does in adults. And as I said, when I talked about depression in adolescent females, it can sometimes be undiagnosed because people might chalk it up to being, a kid just being moody. So if you have a kid with a short fuse who gets angry about things very easily, or has this overarching feeling of just kind of being bored, disengaged in school, disengaged in wanting to play video games or hang out with their friends, then there's a dysfunction in their ability to find pleasure out of the world. And that is basically a cornerstone or a quintessential feature of depression. So to be more specific, if I'm looking at a kid and they are more irritable, meaning that they get angry more often, get angry about things that we usually would let them slide, or maybe they're feeling kind of hopeless or helpless about the future. There's a change in their eating ability, their appetite. Maybe they're eating more, eating less, sleeping more, sleeping less, all that kind of stuff. Kids are going to also have like physical symptoms at times where they might have body aches, they might have stomach pains, they might be complaining of headaches, because kids don't have the vocabulary or the toolbox to really name what's happening in their body. In fact, adults don't really have that, because that's not a conversation that most parents have with their kids about understanding their body and really understanding, like, if there's a change, how can you identify what that change really is? So they might feel sad, but they'll describe it as like a headache. And, so another thing with mood disorders in kids is that I find that, with substance abuse, there is, to some degree, natural experimentation. Some kids are just going to try alcohol. Some kids are just going to try weed or try different drugs. And that doesn't really bother me too much. But when a kid's using every single day, if they're smoking weed every single day, they're trying to go out and get drunk with their friends every single day, then I'm thinking, is there some sort of mood disorder that they might be self-medicating, like an underlying mood disorder that I'm not seeing here? And so the first thing that I want to work on is hopefully getting their sobriety, but also having to work on their mood disorder at the same time. And those cases are definitely more complicated, but those are the type of cases that I see a lot in the BIPOC community, because sometimes for the BIPOC community, substances are readily available. There may be a parent in the household who is using, or just in the community they can find it.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for contributing
We would like to add
this.
something, Tosin,
Sure,
before we
please.
go. We have, as parents, we have a role to play in this. Two things. When it comes to, because there are two types of depression we need to talk about sometimes. We have the situational depression, which is not necessarily clinical, but it could be based on what is happening in our environment, right? In their environment. So as children, let's remember that they soak in everything happening, right? And they can't process it. So there's a thing, and sorry, it has to take me to a sensitive topic here. We tend to, especially in some cultures, we tend to, in African cultures, we tend to want to preserve certain marriages because of the children. But let's remember, those situations might actually be damaging the children. So your children might be soaking in all of these and might be depressed. So it's your role as a parent to be very aware and notice when things are changing. My oldest daughter went through this at the age of 14, and I had to keep telling her, because I noticed her mood was changing, and I kept talking to her, Joanne, are you okay? She cried more often, and I found out that yes, what was happening around her had a lot of effect on her and was really affecting her. So as parents, please, let's be very mindful and very watchful so that we can help catch it and get them treatment as quickly as possible so they don't sink even deeper. It is our responsibility. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I wish we can go on and on and on and on. But within this very short period of time, we've been able to learn a lot of things. We've been able to learn the signs and symptoms, who go through it, how we're going to know if we have it, and how we can seek help. Obviously, from all the points that we've raised on this program today, we've seen that There is recovery. Recovery is possible. Depression definitely exists, and it does not have any age limit. So we need to be careful, take care of ourselves, and seek help when we need to. And let me quickly drop this number. If you need help, want to speak with somebody, please call 1-800-662-4357. That is actually the national helpline. It is 1-800-662-4357. Please call that number if you have to speak with somebody. Or even if you don't want to use this number, speak with somebody, speak with a friend that you think you can confide in. As children, please speak with your parents. And parents, please let us keep checking on our friends. Let us not just assume they are okay. Let's not just assume my child is doing well in school. Let's keep checking on them. Thank you so much. On this note, I want to say thank you, Dr. Chanel, for contributing. Thank you, Shenwa Bajolu. That was, we learned so much from you. Thank you to Singer for sharing that wonderful moment with us. Thank you, Kamaria, for coming. And I want to say that Mother Drum Healing Heart Foundation is here to stay, and it's a monthly roundtable discussion. Next month is going to be bigger and better, and we will keep talking about how we can help our mental health, how we can also integrate whatever we like to do best into mental health. Everybody has mental health, but we need to take care of our mental health so it does not result to mental illnesses. Thank you so much and have a wonderful. Before we go, I'm going to let Tosinga take off from here, and see you guys next month. Have a good one. So Singer, let's go.
I'm going to be signing off, but Mother Drums, thank you so much for including me and all the wonderful speakers and beautiful poetry and singing.
Thank you so much. Nice connecting with you, Dr. Chanel. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Kamaria, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so Singer, we got 3 minutes. Let's go.
Okay.
This song is called Field of Dreams. It's one of my latest singles. Come, open your eyes so I can see your soul. Run through the field of dreams, run as fast as your feet can take you and soar. Run through the field of dreams and fly. Run through the field of dreams, run as fast as your feet can take you and soar. Run through the field of dreams and fly. Seek and you will find your heart's desires more and more than you can ever imagine. Gather them in the field of dreams. Come and close your